What's up, everybody? We are back with another game review. Typically, it's been betas and stuff so far, but we are back with another game review. Today, we are talking about Marvel Rivals, aka another Overwatch clone, just like Concord, except this time it's Marvel, and it has Marvel heroes with Marvel hero powers, but it is even more of an Overwatch clone than Concord is. Concord at least felt a little more unique, even though some of the characters seemed very Overwatch inspired. Now, I only got to play about 4 hours, just a little over 4 hours of this beta. It was a 2-week beta, but it was, it was right at the beginning of a new season of Warzone, the beginning of a season of Apex. So it was just awkward timing to be able to get in good hours. But I did get in 4 hours, which feels like enough to talk about the game, but do take my opinion with a bit of a grain of salt. Along with, I haven't played Overwatch 2 in like 2 years, and I probably only have 30, maybe 40 hours of Overwatch in my life, but take it with a grain of salt. I have played Concord, I have played Overwatch, I have now played Marvel Rivals, and if you want to throw like X-Defiant into this genre, since it's similar as well, I do have a little bit of the hero shooter, arena shooter experience. Not to mention, if you want to put Fragpunk in there, although I think it's its own genre. Apex Legends has its mixtape modes, as well as it used to have arenas. So I have some hero shooter, arena shooter, non-BR experience. So I do think my opinion has a little bit of weight to it, but also I'm kind of a nobody, but that's a different argument. So we're going to talk about some, as usual, pros, cons, so-sos. We will start with the cons, move to the so-sos, and then finish with the pros, because we like to finish on a positive note here. The list for cons and so-sos is not that long, but I do think that one of the cons is very important. So no more teasing. Let's just go ahead and talk about it. And behind, you can see I have gameplay. I think a couple things were a little choppy in this gameplay, but I just had trouble with OBS and some connection issues. But overall, good gameplay. 2 big comebacks, 2 wins in a row. But very, very good gameplay, I think, in the back. So, first con we're going to have is movement speed / no sprint for most characters. Now, there are characters with movement abilities that get them around, but one thing that I liked in Concord that was different than Overwatch and different than Marvel Rivals was the fact that there was a sprint. I like having 2 different move speeds. And I do wish that there was a sprint in Overwatch. I wish there was a sprint in Marvel Rivals, and it wasn't just part of certain heroes' kits. And funny note is that this is a hero shooter with actual heroes versus, you got like Legends and Apex Legends. Now I can't remember off the top. My free gunners in Concord. So usually they're not just straight up called heroes, but with this being Marvel, they are heroes. And movement speed, no sprint, not a huge deal breaker, not a huge problem, but is a con for me, although I know like Overwatch fans that won't be a con for them. The bigger con, and one that I think has potential to hurt this game, and this might just have been beta, but the player base was pretty big in this beta, especially because they sent out a lot of invites. It was crossplay across all platforms. They gave away beta codes for players that, hey, if you were first to claim them, you could send them to your friends right from the game. You could earn a Twitch drop, so it had good player base. But team balancing at times was abysmal. There was a lot of ass kickings, whether I was on the winning side or the losing side. I was part of a lot of ass kickings in the time that I did play this game. And then on top of team balancing for pubs, you get a penalty for leaving one game. I think I left one game the entire 4 hours that I played this game, and I immediately was hit with a couple-minute penalty, and that was right after we were just about to lose, and there was just no way we could have won. And so I was like, screw it, let me get into another game. It was like the end of my stream. I just wanted to play for an hour. I ended up playing for 10 minutes because I was at the end of my stream. I was annoyed. So the team balancing is an issue because there's also a leave penalty. I'm okay with leave penalties in games, but they need to have ways for games to recognize that these teams are really unbalanced. This is an ass-kicking. And if you're going to have bad team balance, you have to have that, or you have to find a way to have good balanced teams all the time. I'm not a fan of SBMM for an individual player, but I am a fan of trying to make teams equal so it's competitive. Because although it's fun to get wins, it's not always fun if you're just constantly in uncompetitive matches, kicking the shit out of other teams, and it's definitely not fun to be on the receiving end of an ass kicking. So I definitely think team balancing does need work, and that is a huge negative, and something that would keep me away from this game. It isn't my favorite genre. My favorite genre right now, at least, is BRs. And arena shooters, I tend to, really good ones, play about 40, 50 hours. And when Concord was out, which I actually enjoyed Concord more, I felt myself escaping the other games that I typically play, Call of Duty and Apex, to make time for Concord, where Marvel Rivals felt more like if I could fit it in, then I would fit it in. But I do think that team balancing was part of that. One thing that I don't have on this list is a con that I should have on there, that I also think is a big deal. I have this under so-so, and that is my two cons. I just have movement speed / no sprint and team balancing. So this is kind of a in-between of a con and a so-so, and that it feels too much like Overwatch. Concord felt like it was trying to compete with Overwatch, but be different. If you just told me that this was an event within Overwatch and that it was just Marvel themed with Marvel heroes, Marvel hero powers on Marvel themed maps, and it was like a collab with Overwatch, I would 100% believe you. The only reason that I don't believe you is because I downloaded a separate game and it's on Steam instead of Battle.net. Although I know that Overwatch is on Steam now. And so for some people, this would be a pro, and for some people, this is going to be a con, and I think this is why this is in my so-so section, is because for hardcore Overwatch people who have a love for Overwatch, don't want to leave it, people who played all the way through Overwatch 1, grind Overwatch 2, and just love Overwatch, they have no reason to jump over to Marvel Rivals, because it's just going to be almost feels like a carbon copy of Overwatch, but just reskinned. And so why wouldn't they stick with the game that they have friends already in? And if they create content and stream, they already have an audience for it. Why would they switch games? Where it could be a pro is for people that really love Marvel and like Overwatch, but don't love Overwatch. This would draw in those fans. Or for people that love Overwatch, but don't want to always be playing Overwatch itself and want something similar to kind of mix things up, that's where it's a pro. And that's why it's so-so for me. Like I said, it's really going to drive people towards staying in Overwatch, and it'll pull some people from Overwatch, especially if they're big Marvel fans. Me personally, I don't think I've watched a Marvel movie since like Iron Man 2 and maybe the first or second Avengers movies. I just recently started catching on Star Wars. After I'm done with that, the Marvel Universe is my next big media task to catch up on. So maybe I'd have more of an appreciation of a Marvel-feeling Overwatch game had I been more of a Marvel fanboy. But because it just feels like Overwatch, I feel like I should just download Overwatch, which is a complete, polished is a term you can argue with any game, but it's a complete polished game. And I have friends that do play Overwatch, whereas I only had one friend who I played this with, and I think I had one other friend who was one of the Overwatch players who had played this game. I just didn't play with him. The other so-so I have is the non-objective modes. I forget what the name of the team deathmatch mode is, but the team deathmatch mode that they have within this game was just too quick. The games felt like they were 2 minutes long, and I put this in so-so because if you are just playing that mode and you don't have a lot of time to game, you can get multiple games in a very quick amount of time. But for somebody who's like a BR player, and I'm used to games being at least 5 minutes if you die pretty quickly, and upwards of 20 to 25 minutes, having, you know, in 10 minutes I can get 3-4 games loaded, played, and moved on to the next one, kind of felt like it was moving too fast. So, you know, there's the one side of, hey, I like quick action, I like to keep things moving, I don't have a lot of time, and I like to be able to fit in multiple games and not just like one game of Warzone where I could be spectating half the time, and I like to keep playing over and over again. And then there's the other side of, hey, I like these drawn out games. I like my matches to be 5, 10 plus minutes. And so depending on who the audience is that's trying out Marvel Rivals, giving it its time, it could be a positive or a negative that matches are so quick. I found it as a negative, especially when the objective matches are so long. It almost feels like you're playing two different games. And so those are my two so-sos, that it feels so much like Overwatch, and that the non-objective matches are just way too quick. And that is quickened by the fact that you don't even have to back to menu to research. You can just, if you're in a party or solo, you can just keep searching right from the final end screen. Then pros, I actually have a much longer list of pros than the so-so and the con list combined. And my three first pros, which would make this list not a whole lot longer if you combine them into one. So I'm going to talk about them all into one because they all kind of are related. And it was one of my big cons with oh my god, what's the game that Concord, and is one of the pros that I feel about Overwatch. And it's that there's a tutorial when you load into the game, there's a firing range, and you can even practice versus AI. I don't remember in Overwatch if you can practice against AI. And Concord has since said that they are going to add that, but Marvel Rivals in their beta had ways to learn the game, had ways to practice the game, had ways to get your hands on mechanics in the game. And I thought that that was a huge positive for them, especially with this beta coming out right after Concord ended. And one of my big gripes of Concord was there was no way for me to go play with Free Gunner's abilities or get a feel for aiming or, you know, anything. There was just no practice. And now there is apparently ways coming to Concord to practice. But Marvel Rivals had it right away. And then going right into that is that the video guides for characters were there, where Concord only had text, and it was long text, it was small, it was just white text over a darker background, and it was boring, it was hard on the eyes to stay focused on. But when you go to try to learn about the different heroes in Marvel Rivals, it actually has a short video clip demonstrating all of their abilities so you can actually see them. So Concord, you couldn't practice abilities. There was no way to practice in a firing range or practice matches or anything, which you can in Marvel Rivals. And you just had to read about it, and I think there might have been pictures, but I don't think there was videos. There was videos for Marvel Rivals demonstrating every single ability. Whether it was passive, whether it was your ultimate, whether it was one of your other abilities, you could see a short clip demonstrating that ability. So between the tutorial, the firing range, the practice, and the video guides, all four of the first pros, they all combine together to help you learn this game. So you're not just jumping into a game blind, disadvantaged to more experienced players. You can at least have some baseline of knowledge before you have to go in there and test out your skills. Moving on from that is the comic graphics. Obviously, the superhero stuff did not start in films. It didn't start in TV shows. It started with comics, and the graphics in this game felt very comic inspired. It was very comic style of art and animation, which I think was great because although it's not necessarily a deal breaker on how games look, as long as games look like developers and the artists tried, it is nice to lean into the comic book background and history that is Marvel to give it its art style and its graphics. And I think it's a unique touch because it was fairly unique looking versus other games, and I definitely liked the comic look. Another part of the maps was the destruction and regeneration of certain maps. If you paid attention to the gameplay behind me, or you do after I'm done talking, you can, because I'm going to let the second game play all the way out, you can see that there's parts of the map. You can't destroy core structures, like you can't make stuff collapse, but you can destroy like bridges to platforms and parts of walls and windows, and to give you different lines of sight. Or if somebody's like holding on to a bridge, they're just standing up there, you could destroy the bridge and bring them down to your level if you're below. And there's just, it gives you different angles to peek at, different ways to fight. And I always like that in a game. It's kind of a shame I haven't been into like Battlefield, because I know they have stuff like that. And I do like having destructible environments. It was actually something I liked about Call of Duty Vanguard that other people didn't. But I did enjoy that part of it. And I do like that this was in Marvel Rivals as well. Then the last pro I have, which I think is something that's so unique. Maybe Overwatch has added this, but when I played Overwatch, it wasn't a thing, and I don't think it is still a thing, but it's been a while. They have team-up abilities where certain legends, like Rocket Raccoon, can get on top of Groot's shoulders, and there's like an ability within that ability as well. But the fact that they know that in the MCU there's heroes with certain synergies, and that you can now play this game and play into those synergies, I think was a unique touch. Something that, although it does feel like an Overwatch clone, does separate it from Overwatch is those team-up abilities. It's interesting, especially if you are a Marvel nerd. I'm sure you have more of an opinion on this, but it gives you more lore feel, and it plays more into the history of this game. Instead of just slapping Overwatch, or instead of slapping over... I was going to say Overwatch characters. Instead of just slapping Marvel characters in an Overwatch clone, it gives you more of an immersion and a general feel of this is the MCU and not just like an Overwatch collab. And it was just something unique. There's not a whole lot of games. I mean, you go all the way back to, I can't remember the full title, but the Mario Kart on the GameCube, where you had two people in the cart, is one of the few games that I can think of that played into team-up abilities and being able to, you know, team up with other characters. Now, of course, that was one person controlling two characters, And then there's a new Spectre Divide game that goes into like the CSGO, Valorant, Fragpunk genre where you can control 2 people. But having 2 individuals controlling their own characters, being able to team up was something that was unique. And especially if you're really into MCU, whether it's the comics, whether it's the movies, the shows, whatever, it's like being able to be part of that lore and that story, but being in control, like you're the character themselves. And when you play with friends, you can say, hey, you be Groot, I'll be Rocket, and we can combine on our team-up abilities. And there was a bunch of other ones, but that's the one that I saw used the most, so it's the one that sticks out in my mind. But that's it for the pros. So just to wrap up, cons were movement speed / no sprint. Team balancing was horrendous, and that's the big con. The other one's pretty small. The so-so was quick matches, which is not as big a deal as the feels too much like Overwatch, which once again, depending on who you are, is a pro or a con. So I just stuck it in so-so. But the pro list was long. Tutorial, firing range, practice versus AI, video guides on heroes, comic graphics, team-up abilities, destruction / regeneration of parts of the map. So I do think overall that Marvel Rivals is a very good game with good bones, good fun gameplay. If they work on the team balancing and find more ways like team-up abilities to separate themselves from Overwatch, I do think they can coexist with Overwatch. But for the most part, although I do think this is a very good game, I actually enjoyed Concord more. But I do think you're going to see people go, well, this was fun, but I'm more familiar with Overwatch, so I'm just going to go back to sticking with Overwatch. Maybe they play this game to mix things up. I don't see it directly competing with Overwatch so much as leeching off of Overwatch, which I think is kind of unfortunate because it is a good game, and had Overwatch not existed, I'd say that this game was primed to be a hit. Now, it might still be a hit because of how big a fan base the MCU has and how loyal so many of those fans are. But I do think it's going to struggle overall to compete with Overwatch. Now, unlike Concord, they are smart. This is going to be free to play. They are going to make their money based off of microtransactions and season passes and all that. So I do think that's a smarter move than what Concord's doing. And unfortunately, Concord felt more unique, which I think would have been its advantage. But I think Overwatch is going to continue to reign supreme in this genre. And I mentioned X-Defiant at the beginning of this game, but that's not a hero shooter in the way that they have like superpowers like Overwatch kind of is, and Marvel Rivals and Concord kind of are. It's kind of like the odd man out within this genre, although it's arguably in this genre. So I'm not going to really compare it to that. X-Defiant has its own struggles, and I don't think X-Defiant pulls away as much of the Overwatch people as like Concord has the potential to, although it's looking like it's not going to, and Marvel Rivals has the ability to, although I don't think Marvel Rivals will. So definitely, because this is free to play, 100% recommend trying this out, especially if you like this genre, especially if you like Overwatch. I definitely think you should give Marvel Rivals a try. If you've never played this genre, I think you should try it if you're into FPS games. And Marvel Rivals, I think, is a good intro, especially because they give you tutorials, firing ranges, practice versus AI, and video guides on each character, as well as text. It does give you text. So definitely try out Marvel Rivals for yourself. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you played it, if you didn't, if you're just getting an impression off of my gameplay, or you want to disagree, agree with any of my points, let me know in the comments down below. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell for more. I do post mostly COD and Apex content. I have been grinding on that content more. But I do want to get into more and more game reviews, especially PvP reviews. So, you know, I got into Delta Force, so that review is going to come. I'm trying to get into as like a mecha break. As many shooter games and PvP games as I can, I am trying to get into to put up more reviews. So do hit that notification bell if you want to see that type of content first. And that subscribe if you just want to see it, but you don't care about being first. And down below, I do have all my social medias linked. Twitch, which I'm live pretty much every day, at least once a day. Sometimes in the morning, but pretty much every night. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. TikTok and Instagram are the same content, just whichever platform you prefer, and Twitter is just me being me. A lot of football talk will be coming up, so just be prepared for that if you follow me there. And also my single player YouTube channel, where every Sunday we play single player games, and then we upload to that channel throughout the next week, is also linked down below. But I will see you next time. Have a good day. Bye.
I'm back. I already got my ult. What the hell?
Then one of our, yeah, because it continues from the previous round.
Did you see that?
And one of our teammates, PC.
Lock and load.
Capture the mission area.
That kind of changes. Oh, thought you had me. Mantis. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I died.
Let's try this again.
This is real firepower!
Wanda's got to be one of the strongest heroes, right?
Yeah.
Don't mind me. Thought you had me.
That was something about.
I like how they put a difficulty rating on different heroes.
Oh, so nice.
That's so nice for like new players and stuff.
Turret go boom.
Oh, sweet moves, right?
Judge, jury, execution.
Your team's capture progress has passed the halfway point. Double KO.
Add that to my latest hit. We did it! Oh, thought you had me. Locked and loaded.
You're under my spell.
Oh, sweet moves, right?
I see that.
I'm hulking.
Goodbye. Rocket's beacon should not be a problem anymore.
Oh, thought you had me.
Don't mind me.
I'll do Punisher on his turret.
Did you see that?
Damn.
Goodbye. For now.
Can't keep me down for long.
Hurricane incoming.
They've
Oh,
almost got
thought
it.
you had me.
You're welcome.
Oh, they're not.
I need our healers to heal. I think our healer was the one who DC'd.
Honestly, I've wanted to do that. Oh, sweet moves, right?
Poor kid.
I totally rocked
You'll
that.
have to keep fighting until we have a
Thought you
winner.
had me.
Double KO. That's 3. Control seized.
Oh, where's our healer?
You've captured more than half of the mission area. Keep going.
Locked and
Oh,
loaded.
thank God, dude.
I'm hulking.
Pulse charge. Fire. Sorry, no revivals here.
Add that to my greatest hit.
Double KO.
Tony, you gotta give me one of those suits.
He's coming up behind.
You're welcome.
Can't let them get the zone back.
As I got bullets, I win.
Piece of cake.
Under my spell.
Oh, we might do it. It's looking good.
This is real firepower!
Booyah!
Double KO.
Dude, I just went on a 10-player streak. Dude, I can't believe the double comeback rounds. That's 3 rounds in a row we were down a significant amount and came back.